Welcome to the Connected Advisor. I'm your host, Kyle Van Pelt, CEO and co-founder of Milemarker. Today, we have a special episode where we compile excellent ideas from our previous episodes on a topic. At Milemarker, we believe firms like yours should own their data and control their destiny. Today, we are going to hear from four great leaders of four great firms on why data and technology are the key to their success. We'll hear from Mike Pryor from Priority Financial Group, Brian Preston from Abound Wealth Management, Mark DeLotto from Simon Quick Advisors, and Chrissy Lee from Merit Financial Advisors. Mike Pryor, CEO of Priority Financial Group, provides us with the insights on how important it is to have a modern approach to technology while pursuing their crazy service goals, in quotes. You will hear him speak about how their approach to technology differentiates PFG from other firms. So in your estimation, why do you think Idaho Central decided to partner with PFG rather than one of those really enormous names that serves credit unions as well?
Right. People who know, like who are in the wealth space, they know what they're kind of looking for, right? And so they want a low-cost platform with high tech, right? So low-cost, high tech. And advisors who have been around, credit union executives who've been around, they know that the old broker-dealers kind of all have the same legacy systems, right? Yeah. So to do advisory business off a broker-dealer system is very challenging. It's nobody's fault, just is what it is, right? It's just their ecosystem, their box, if you will. It's kind of hard to jump out of, and so with our open platform, it gave Idaho Central team what they needed. They wanted access to Schwab. They needed access to both Schwab and Fidelity for different clientele. And so to have multi-custodial was really kind of important to them, but they got it. They're one of the more progressive credit unions, I'd say, on a lot of levels, from the CEO down to the wealth management team. Cool. They see where the puck's going. And that's what they said. They see where things are going. They want to be free to help the biggest clients and help the smallest clients. So members of the credit union. And it's been a great partnership.
That's so excellent. Yeah. And I think you hit on this a little bit, but I just want to go a bit deeper. As a credit union that kind of sits in the banking realm and all of that stuff, I think for me, it makes sense why so many of them sort of lived under a broker-dealer model for so long, for several different reasons. But what do you think is changing as to why they chose the RIA model versus the more traditional broker-dealer route?
I think it really does come back to just choice, having more options and, not feeling stuck. They try to pivot, and every time they turned around, it was no, can't do this. System limitations, and a lot of times the bigger broker dealers, they have like, 10, 20,000, advisors, and their compliance department's managing to the lowest common denominator. Us, we built our firm from the ground up. So we know every single advisor, and they're good quality advisors. And so we do have those choices available because we can manage them. We're not too big that we can't manage, a multi-custodial platform. So, and I think also that we're more client-centric. We're boutique. We care about every single advisor, every single client. That matters to us. Every institution is a client and a friend, a partner, so.
That's so cool.
So we care, and so we're not trying to, take over the world or, we don't have crazy growth goals. We really have crazy service goals. We really make sure, we overserve. And so when they see that and hear that, it's different than what the experience they've been getting.
Well stated. I love that statement of we don't have crazy growth goals, we have crazy service goals. I think that's super cool. Let's actually, that's a really nice segue into the next thing I wanted to ask you about. So I saw something else that caught my eye as we were researching for this, which was that you all just did a partnership with USC. That's right, the college, the Trojans, Southern California's credit union, to provide digital and in-person education, all about financial planning for students, faculty, staff, and alumni. I mean, I understand the alumni. There's quite a few successful people that have come out of USC, but students, especially college students, are not necessarily known for having a bunch of excess capital or things along those lines. Mike had some great insights on how professionals from outside a firm judge a firm based on their technology limitations. When considering technology inside the firm, there has to be a strategy. Brian Preston, founder and managing partner at Abound Wealth Management, has impressive organic growth due to their media production. Brian shares the importance of supporting organic growth by being on the front edge of technology. He also shares the dangers of making a decision just to save a few bucks when it comes to technology. Here's Brian.
Well, I mean, tech is one. It's a dangerous edge in some ways. Like I'll tell you a quick story. There was a company named TechFi that was a portfolio management software that came on the scene, and it was dirt cheap and it was open access. It was like $2 or $3 a year. I jumped on it because it was cheap. It was good technology. It was so good that one of the bigger providers of portfolio management just bought them to kill them. I think they bought them for like $25 million. It was Advent that bought them out and just completely destroyed it. And that left me scrambling. So I think with technology, here's what I would give advice if I was talking to other advisors is definitely make sure you're on the front edge of understanding what options are out there and available for you, but don't be an early adopter. You kind of need to make sure that you have a viable company that you're actually going into. And then even when you're in the trying out or talking to the marketing team, ask them what the plan is for the business. That's one of the things I have, since I learned from TechFi, I've never fallen in the trap again. I've always trying to go with kind of the best and most accepted paths instead of having to redo the whole process. It was the same way when I did taxes as well, by the way. There were some upstarts on the tax prep software that I jumped on one time to save a few bucks. Anytime I've made a decision to save a few bucks, I've usually kicked myself 5 times over for the short-sightedness. I want you to save your money, but I also want you to be very prudent with your decisions on how you invest in that latest technology. It's one of those things where if you do it right, it will make your job so much easier as you do get bigger and can scale and grow into the firm you want to be.
Very cool. Brian really shared some practical wisdom on what to consider with new technology. Mark DeLotto, partner at Simon Quick, has similar wisdom on how he thinks about connecting their technology and data. Mark found that as the firm grew, they created silos for themselves and their data and their technology. Mark emphasizes the criticalness of data in all aspects of building their firm. We've talked a lot about the human element. You mentioned technology. You know me, yep. We run a technology firm. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about it. I know you have a lot of technology that you like, but I want to frame this question in this way. Like with the model that you have and the way Simon Quick works and the way that Mark is trying to put everything together at scale, like where's the biggest gap in your tech stack right now? Like where have you not really been able to find a solution that it's like, this problem continues to persist and we just can't seem to find a partner or a piece or a vendor or something? And I apologize for the flood of emails you're going to get after this answer from people saying, Mark, I've got exactly that solution for you. But
solution, yep.
Go ahead. Answer it however you think best.
Yeah. Well, first off, I'm not a technologist by background. As I mentioned earlier, I grew up in the business more, started out on the sell side and really as I worked through my career, I picked up the technology side and I led it and did my best. But I think the biggest gap for us is on the tech side and the infrastructure of the organization and tying all the pieces together as a small enterprise. We certainly, over time have outgrown some of the tools that we've used and we've upgraded and, we've looked at best in breed. We've looked at the all-in-ones. To me, it all comes down right now at this point to data and just data quality, single source of truth. Where is everything and how can we get it? And it's still a challenge for us. And that's what I've been focused on, probably the last 3 to 4 months is how can we improve on that? What can we do to make that more of a focus, more of a priority? When I think about people culling together, various spreadsheets from various systems, it makes me want to cry. Because I know other firms are doing it much easier and much better. And one of the reasons that we picked up the phone and talked to you guys was, hey, help us, with this data problem that we've got. We're still in progress. I mean, it's not something that you figure out overnight either, by the way. Over time, we've built out silos and these silos are great for each department, but none of it speaks to each other. And so we need to do a better job of tying it all together. That's the big initiative on my plate for this year and beyond.
Yeah. Let the record show, I did not pay Mark to say that. I actually had no idea he was going to share that. Candidly, I expected Mark to talk about something in the alternative investment space. So I am very appreciative that you said, hey, the problem Milemarker solves is the big problem that Simon Quick deals with. Like,
it is.
It's real. We're hearing that from firm after firm after firm. And if it does make you feel better, there's still a lot of people culling together spreadsheets and trying to make spreadsheets the source of truth. And they know there's got to be a better way.
There definitely is. One of the things that I think about is just the pace of technological change. And we're seeing it now with AI for sure.
Mark did an excellent job describing how a growing firm can become disconnected and find themselves in need of connecting their technology systems and data.
This podcast is brought to you by Turncast. We make game-changing content for fintech and financial services companies. Learn more at turncast.com.
Hey, this is Judd Mackerel. Thanks for listening to this show. I just wanted to ask you one question. What's your technology and data strategy for 2025? If you can't clearly answer that question, I'd love to talk. We are spending some specific time with select firms to really go deep and help you clearly answer that question. We believe that it's one of the things that often holds back firms from really achieving their potential, from really achieving growth, and really getting a lot of the things in the position that they need to be. The things that are holding up the way that you scale, like your workflows, how you manage data around your revenue, how you report all of that to your advisors, and getting clarity in all those things. I'm sure there's a lot of very specific things to your business that are really important as well, and we'd love to talk about that. If this is interesting to you, hit me up with an email. My direct email is jud@milemarker.co, and I'd love to hear from you, hear what you're working on, hear what your strategy is, and see if there's an opportunity for us to help you get more clear on that strategy in 2025. Thanks.
Chrissy Lee, COO of Merit Financial Advisors, shares how technology powers exceptional operations. She explains how both technology and operations need organized, centralized data. Where are some areas operationally that you feel like innovation hasn't happened, or that you're still sort of frustrated by kind of the lack of progress or lack of innovation in the ability to get things done from an operations perspective?
So I do think that operations and technology, they go hand in hand. Because if we have the technology to be able to make everybody efficient, particularly in operations, because if you think about it, operations really is at the heart of an organization, because you have the relationships, but then you have to actually get the paperwork in. You have to submit the ACAP forms and whatever business that they're doing. And if we don't have the right technology, or if it's limited, then it really is difficult, because then it becomes a manual process. And I think, Kyle, you can appreciate this because you've been in the industry for some time. I do think that we still have a lot of challenges on the technology side. Everybody, I think, talks about this, and I can't believe we're still talking about this. The challenge of data aggregation. I think that is a challenge. And it absolutely hits operations, because that's what we deal with. Having to try to pull all the information together so that it's right there in the hands of the advisor to be able to talk with the client. And so I think for us, I know it sounds weird that I'm talking about technology when you ask me a question about operations.
Yeah.
But for us, I feel like the biggest challenge is we have operations. We have that hands down in the sense of what needs to be done, what paperwork needs to happen, what the clients need to sign, but it's how we get it in the hands of the clients, and that's on a technology perspective. So I think that's the challenge.
You just sprung another thing for me that I feel like we're talking about a lot here at Milemarker, and I just want to get your take on it. But I think technology, I totally agree with your statement. But I also think that technology kind of is split between two jobs, right? Because you have this technology that is advisor facing, and then you have this technology that's kind of operations facing. Yeah. And in this new world where people are plugging into these support systems for firms, it's almost like you have places like Merit where Chrissy is building out these incredibly sophisticated workflows and things all on top of a technology. But then in most situations, the advisor is using a completely different set of technology that doesn't really talk with what the operations team is using. So what do you think it takes to be able to kind of tie together, so the analogy I use a lot of times is that of like a restaurant, right? So I think that the operations team is the kitchen at a restaurant, and they are this fine-tuned efficiency machine. It's not supposed to be pretty. It's like all the stations are set exactly right so that we can consistently pump out wonderful dishes that are great. But then the advisors are out in the front of house of the restaurant and they're serving clients. They're trying to create an atmosphere and an experience with white tablecloths and nice wine and all of this type of stuff and make sure they're taken care of. But I feel like in so many RIAs today, if we're using the kitchen analogy, you have this great, beautiful dining room, this efficiency machine of a kitchen. And then what happens is the advisors take the order from the clients and then they're just shouting it back to the kitchen, like from where they stand. So you have all of these orders being shouted in and the kitchen's like, we're ready to be efficient, but golly, can somebody organize the way that this work is coming in for us to be efficient for you? So I'd be curious to hear you riff on that a little bit of, yes, the technology investment's so important, but it seems like we're bifurcated on people building tech for operations, but then people building tech for advisors, and they're not really the same systems and they're not being implemented the same.
So you're speaking my language. And it's funny that you used the kitchen because that's what I use. That's 100%. I agree with that because I do see it that way. And that's a good thing. I do think that that's a good thing. They don't see what happens behind those closed doors. And so by the time that the dish comes out, it looks beautiful and everything looks really, really nice. But you have no idea that in the bag, it was like 10 people trying to make it as fast, but beautiful and tasty and everything that goes to it. And it is, there is a lot of manual. And I think this is where I wish so much. And I know that there are these different, like I've been on different boards, focus groups and things with different organizations, like different technology companies, because my thing that I always say is, okay, can we please, to your point, make it where the client facing as well as the back office that it speaks, because you need to have that automation and the streamlined way so that we in operations is not having to go to what the advisor is using and try to manually pull it over, into, I'm making this up, into like Salesforce or someplace else where we have it in our back office. So it would be amazing if these companies would speak to one another. So that's a challenge that, I think the people that are very vocal in operations in the financial industry, we just need to gather together and start, knocking on doors and demanding this. But yeah, that is the challenge. I think that both sides, they have these wonderful, brilliant technologies that they offer, whether it's to the back office, but then it doesn't talk to clients. And then on the client side, they have this really beautiful reporting or whatever it is that they can log into, but it doesn't speak to, and I think we've done a better job. I think as an industry, the companies, the bigger companies, the resources are doing a better job of trying to streamline it. But I think that it's just a constant challenge that we're always, butting heads and trying to figure out. It's one at a time, but we are getting there.
Yeah, well stated. All right, so since we've been talking about all of that, I'd be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit about the future of the industry. So, Chrissy, this is the segment of the show where I'm going to ask you to get out your crystal ball, and I want you to peer into the future of the wealth management or the RIA space. You can go as far into the future as you want, but give us at least a couple years and tell us what you see coming down the pike for what's happening in the future of this industry.
So I'm going to speak as an operations person. Obviously, I'm not an advisor. I'm not on the investment side. So I don't know what the market will do. But in terms of what I see in the industry, and it's based upon the conversation that you and I have had so far, Kyle, in the sense that all of those technology, the resources that are super helpful, and it's really able to connect us to the clients and they're able to access their accounts. But again, kind of going back to what we are building in Mara Connect, it's really about the relationships. And more, what I see is that technology, I think that people put too much into it, meaning let's build something and then, throw it out there for clients to see and we don't have to deal with it. It's all technology, and it's not. It really is a combination of the two, of being able to use technology to further enhance the relationship. And I know that there's been a lot of focus on AI in our industry. And I think last year there were so many conversations about ChatGPT and how we could help write these wonderful emails and have conversation pieces. And I'm not saying that those are not helpful. It does, give you some great bullet points and conversational pieces to discuss. But I think what I see, and at least for our amazing advisors at Merit, what I see is you always go back to the human touches. I really do. I even see it I think they said that people get so many emails because everyone thought that that was the most efficient way to do it. But then now I'm hearing that's actually by mail, that some people are going back to mail because it's really nice to be able to have that, touch. And so I just think that we're going to go back to some of the classics. I always think that handwritten notes are so much more personal than a thank you email. People are not numbers. You can only send so much data and analysis to someone. They want someone that cares, who's listening, hearing their story. So it's not just about their investments. They really want to hear the story and be part of their lives and their dreams for building the wealth. And I think that those are really important. There are a lot of companies I do business with, even though they're more expensive on their counterparts than other companies. But because they formed a relationship with me, I want to work with them. I'm not a transaction. They make me feel good about investing with them and working with them. So I think that especially in our industry where we're helping people achieve their dreams and build their wealth, I think no matter what, we're just going to keep coming back to the relationship part.
I love that. It was not related to our industry, but I saw something just yesterday where somebody was saying that with all of the AI generated emails and all of this sort of stuff, that it's we're almost going to have to prove that we're human. And they were like, I think you're going to see this huge renaissance of in-person events or salespeople getting on jets and going to see people because it's hey, this is actually me coming to talk to you. It's not some AI generated stuff. It's not an AI bot on the phone because they can do that now, right? An AI generated voice calling you on the phone or things along those lines. I think there's going to be a lot of no, I'm a human who cares and who's coming to actually see you and invest in this.
100%. I mean, several years ago, everybody, because of what was happening in the world, we were all using video chat, to talk with clients and things. And I think that some people thought, oh, great, this is the way that we're going to do things. I think it's still nice to have it for those times when they just want to have a quick call or something. It's nice to be able to have this interaction, but you're never going to get that same effect as just sitting across your clients and people and having that, the ability to be able to sit there and, shake their hand, or if you're close, if you're hugging them, whatever it is, and hearing their story and really being able to be engaged and in the moment. So I totally agree.
That's so good. I wonder too, if we're almost going to see a renaissance of trying to think of the right word, but finishing classes or something where it's hey, learning how to actually talk human to human again. Because so many people are so used to just texting or, Instagram or those types of things, as it becomes a renaissance. That would be, hey, here's how to have a conversation with somebody. Here's etiquette classes again,
Right. Write a handwritten note,
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Thank you so much for joining us today. We at Milemarker are passionate about technology and data. If your firm needs to own its data and control its destiny, reach out to us. You can email us at hello@milemarker.co, and our wonderful team will begin you on the journey to controlling your data and controlling your destiny. Enjoy every mile.